Hello, 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 and welcome to Property Game Changers live on the Property Game Changers Facebook page. We're here every week talking to people who've changed the game in property. We are celebrating the power of ethical property investing to really change lives. And of course, we're inspiring each other to believe bigger, to be bolder, and to be game changers for good. And today, I am super excited to have with us Karen Stanbridge, property investor and strategic consultant. Karen is an experienced property investor, accountant, and strategic business consultant. She's co-host of Partners in Property Southampton and also of the Property Angels. Karen helps people who are new to property to define their vision and their path forward. And she also helps high net worth investors wanting to get the most out of their property business. So welcome to Property Game Changers, Karen Stanbridge.
Thank you very much, Steph, and thank you for inviting me along tonight. Really looking forward to chatting with you.
Well, I'm super excited to be talking to you. I've known you for some time at a distance, and what you've been doing has totally blown me away. And so that's why I'm excited to have you on. And I know that people will find your story really inspiring. So for people who don't know you, Karen, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I originally started out as an accountant. Well, somebody has to, okay? I then went on to work in project and program management and then business consultancy in big blue chip industry. But, you know, it was getting really political and I was getting a bit sick and tired of continual change from the top down. And there was massive gaps between the vision at a corporate level, HQ, and what was happening down on the ground. And also, we were finding the leaders right at the very, very top were continually changing. Plus, there was lots of turbulence. Lots of people were being made redundant. And I was in a position where I couldn't apply for what they called voluntary redundancy. So you had an expression of wish, which to meet their redundancy numbers each quarter, they used to open it up to all staff within a given business area. Sadly, because of certain qualifications I had, I was always excluded. Imagine working with people and having people working for you who had the weight of the world on their shoulders. Yeah. It was really getting draining, and the fun had gone from the job. The enjoyment I used to see, it just had dissipated. So I needed something different, something that really I was passionate about.
And you started dipping your toes in the water with property. How did that happen? What was your first move?
My first move was to read Daniel Wagner's book. He had a book about wealth, okay? And he, at the time, I don't know if he still has, but at the time he had some HMOs fairly near where I live in Bracknell. And when you read his story about the commune, the drugs, and all he'd been through and what he'd achieved at that time, it was an incredible story. And I just thought, you know what? There's something in this. So I started moving closer to property. And I thought, I'm going to give this a go. But I kind of did go big bang and left corporate land.
So Daniel Wagner, most people, it's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But this is a different book. Did you say the name of it, Karen?
It was a while ago when I read it now. But it was that book. I think it's called something like Wealth DNA. It's around that, but search it. Yeah. Several years back when I read it, but it really was that at that point in time inspired me to push forward and jump into property.
Wealth DNA by Daniel Wagner. And what was it, or what was the thing in the book that you thought, wow, that's it, your mind just clicked?
Yeah, it was Daniel's story really, and the things he'd been through in his life and how he'd come out the other side and what he'd achieved. And I just thought, do you know what? If he can do this and he's been through all of these things, then I can definitely do this. You know, what's holding me back? I mean, we'd had a few things happen in our life and I was fairly cautious, but I just thought there's no point continuing for the rest of my career doing something I'm not passionate about. Yes, I had a great job. Yes, it paid well, but it was a case of, it was a chore. I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't going in. And on a Monday, I wasn't, let's go for it. It's Monday again now. And
Yeah.
working long hours. And when you factor in that as well,
Yes.
it really takes its toll on you. And that wasn't the lifestyle I wanted.
Yeah, no, I totally appreciate, and I'm sure many people will be able to relate. And so you read the book, you had the impetus. What was your first sort of baby step into property?
There was a local guy who did some training in Woodley at the time, and I went along, sat in on that. I think it was a weekend event. It was really, cheap. I then did an event, a 3-day event in London. Then I did a mentorship for a year. I didn't get that much from it, but I made some great connections. But after that, I had an amazing mentor who, KT, knowledge transferred the type of knowledge I needed. So I then had Richard Little as a mentor after that, and he was absolutely fabulous,
Yeah.
And I have so much knowledge I learned from him. And, I know what I don't know. I know who I need to ask if I don't know what I don't know. But it also bridged a gap, because on the business side, I had fairly solid foundations. Most things I could tackle because I'd, encountered them, run war rooms, stuff like that. So the business side was pretty straightforward. The strategy, the policy setting, all of that, pretty straightforward. But I knew I had no knowledge in property. So just understanding so many things, knowing to, get to the know straight away, knowing what deals look like, what they don't look like. Yeah, I kind of got all of that knowledge, and I feel fairly confident with what we're doing, that, I can cover most things off now and or reach out to the people I need when pertinent. And plus, I work in a fabulous office now. So a friend of mine, he actually bought an office in Reading Town Centre, and I rent a desk from him. And it's a fabulous office. We've got a prize-winning architect in there. We've got a property accountant. I'm in there. Some other people in property are in there. And of course, the guy who owns it, investor, very experienced as well. So we're really able to synergize, bounce things off one another. So kind of the pieces of the jigsaw have fitted together, and I feel in a good place right now.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. So you had some coaching, mentoring that originally, where you got some great value from the network, but not so much the content. And then you had some other great mentors, Richard Little and others you mentioned.
Amazing knowledge from Richard, yes. And now the people I have within my network as well, they're the right people. And of course, I've got the other property angels, which is great.
Yeah.
Being host of PIP opens up lots of things. My good friend Fiona Talbot, she's a great sounding board as well.
Yes. And tell us about that. You just mentioned, and then we'll go on more with your story, but tell us about what is PIP. I do know, of course, but just for people watching, listening.
So Partners in Property. So myself, Sam Beddoe and Sarah Smith, we're co-hosts of PIP Southampton. Now, it's a networking event with a difference. Normally, in modus operandi, we would be live, and it's a day-long event. You get lunch. You have great speakers in the morning, and then you mastermind in the afternoon. And having access to the people around those tables, you'd normally pay several £100s for per hour. But during the PIP day, you have access to them. Now, actually, that is replicated online, and we have breakout rooms currently. So it's as near as it can be to a live environment. So, yeah, it's networking, but with a huge difference, and delivering a lot more value than a lot of the other networks do.
Yeah. And what about you've got your PIP, and you're also Property Angels as well, aren't you?
Yes. So we are really delivering value, we hope, to people new, so that they have the tools to tackle things from a safe point in time, because there are so many sharks out there. So we want to equip people with reality and with the tool set and the knowledge to progress in a safe way. But we also have the Coffee Kickstarter series, and that's both been those new to the industry and for those that have been around for a long time. And typically we interview coalface practitioners who are out there really walking the talk. And the idea is to inspire people so they can see what's achievable. And we talk about various people's journeys. And right now, we've just started a business special series with the fabulous Fiona Talbot.
Yes, I do enjoy Fiona, so I'll check that out. I did notice, and I've seen them come up, so people can catch you there with the Property Angels Facebook page and Property Angels also on YouTube. So
Absolutely.
let's go back to your story. And how did you start in property? Actually, what was your first investment?
I didn't do it the typical way. So the first property I bought was an illegal HMO.
Oh, right.
Also development, because we built it out as well. So yeah, we extended it. We remedied the issues with it, and now it's a great HMO in an Article 4 area, and that was my first investment.
Yeah.
And
Is that
after
in
that,
Reading?
no, this is actually in Hampshire.
Oh, right.
So we're on the Hampshire-Berkshire borders. I'm actually Hampshire side, okay?
Yeah.
Hampshire, Berkshire, that's typically my gold mine area, predominantly Reading. So yeah.
Yeah. And so you got your HMO, and how did that go? Was it traumatic, or did things go to plan?
There were a few things along the way, but pretty much it went to plan. Yeah, we went back to brick, reword, extension, etc., etc. Yeah, and we got a great email from the council at that time. They said it was one of the best HMOs they'd seen, which was really nice.
Yeah, it's great when you get that
market where this particular HMO is now, because unfortunately there are lots of illegal HMOs. They are dressed to look pretty, they are dressed to look sharp, but when you look close to them, you can see they don't comply on the health and safety side.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awful. That is. And so you got your HMO, so you got yourself off the ground, and then tell us, how did things develop after that?
Well, after that, I went into development. Okay.
Wow. You don't hang about, do you, Karen?
No, but it wasn't straight away. I didn't just run. Look, I'm going to say from the beginning, property is the long game. Okay. So yes, I could have racked up loads of debt. Yes, I could have JV'd with everyone and their dog, but that's not me. Okay. So I did move slowly, and I did a bit of development. Then afterwards, I bought some single lets. I'm not a big fan of HMOs, so I know you love them, but
yeah,
I like an easy life. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've converted a couple of our HMOs back to single let. I'm actually in the process of selling an HMO, and I'll end up with just one HMO left. That's not to say I wouldn't buy one if there was a fabulous deal. They take a lot of headspace. And for me, my focus is doing something different. So for assets where I'm responsible for them, I don't want that headspace to be used. I'd rather it was doing something else. So, for example, if I added more HMOs to my portfolio in the future, they would be leveraged. And the property management side would absolutely be at arm's length from my perspective, because I like finding the deals.
Yeah.
Analyzing the deals to make sure they stack, negotiating the price on them. And then I like coming out the other side, getting them ready. But I don't like dealing with all the day-to-day, tenant on the phone. There's a pigeon that's pooed on my windowsill. Can you do something about it? Like that. Is that cool? Yes.
Is that footage from an actual call? Yeah. Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So you were obviously self-managing then, Karen?
At that time, I was.
Yeah. Soon after you worked. Wow, that's a new one. I've never heard one. I've never heard that before.
And you can laugh at stuff like that, and that's fine. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm always reachable if there's an issue, but I like to focus on the things I enjoy, because for me, it's about a lifestyle business. And everyone's different, and everyone's vision is different, and that's okay. But I don't want hundreds of properties. I just want a comfortable life where I can dip into the business and out of the business. And I do like being in it, doing the parts I like, absolutely. And I like, investor relations, portfolio building, all of that kind of stuff. Fabulous. But I like focusing on the elements that really like my passion, if you like, that I would say that I'm good at. And yes, but it doesn't mean you're not good at the other things. It just means you don't enjoy them. But it helps you identify as well who else you need within your team to come along with you on the journey to get the best out of the business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, the sound is vibrating, but That is the one I meant to bring up, which is Ernest saying that he's enjoying listening to you and that you're giving him inspiration. And I hope the sound improves for you, Ernest. It seems to be okay here. So I'm not sure what's happening. So Karen, you went into development. What kind of developments were you doing?
It was an office to residential.
Wow. So that's a big move as your second.
It was small. It was a very small one. It should have been very simple. And there were some challenges with it, but, it's fine. At the moment, now we're looking at some land right now. We're looking at various things. And I love stuff like that. That kind of ignites my fire, and it's also about not being motivated, because at the moment, certainly in our area, we still have quite a gap between seller prices and reality value.
Yeah.
So, it might be you just park it and go back to it in X months' time, but no,
that's exciting. And what I know about you, because I've been seeing you popping up as a celebrity here and there, is that you're very involved in SaaS pensions.
Yes. Louise's book. I'm a whole chapter in Louise's book.
Are you? I have bought the book and I'm yet to read it. So I'm going to really, I'm going to read you afterwards. So, do you have the book to hand? We could maybe show it. It's SaaS Superstars anyway.
Actually in a different room.
Yeah. So SaaS Superstars, for anybody watching and listening, it gives examples. Well, you can tell more actually what people can expect from SaaS Superstars.
It's different SaaS trustees' perspectives on, SaaS is and what it's done for them and why they think it's great. But I'm going to say from the beginning as well, SaaSes aren't for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
They are great for the right people, but there are obligations, and you need to understand what those obligations are. And you need to understand that you're the trustee, you're setting the risk and reward policy. You've got to be doing the due diligence, and there's a lot you need to understand, and you have to be HMRC compliant. However, they can be great because there's so much you can do. You can take a slice of your SaaS with multiple other people and create a greater whole. You can buy commercial property within your SaaS. You can do a loan back to your sponsoring company. You can do third-party unrelated loans. You can buy stocks and shares. You can buy industrial grade gold bullion and much, much more. But you just need to make sure that you're compliant, you understand your obligations, and you understand the risk against the return you're likely to receive.
Yeah. And Karen, where would you suggest that people who want to take their first step into getting a SaaS pension, is there a resource that you would suggest as maybe a first step that people could start finding out a bit more about it?
I would say just have a look around, see who's out there, see who the key providers are. Now, if you want to contact me, I can put you in contact with who I use, and he's a fabulous guy. I'm not going to name names on here because it's probably unfair, but I've probably got 3 people, 3 different firms I would personally select. And I'm obviously with one of those. So as I say, happy for people to reach out to me if they want me to connect them with a professional SaaS company, an IFA that's, correctly qualified and everything, to give advice on benefits of having a SaaS, because you need to check, that you're going to make it work for you, taking into account the setup costs. Have you got windfall profits that you might want to shield? Have you got former corporate pensions that you want to transfer in? And there are a number of things to consider. So, but as I say, it can be great for you. And read the book that Steph just mentioned, SaaS Superstars. That tells you about other people's stories and how they started out. Talk to people who have SaaSes. Just do due diligence and understand, if you decide to have a SaaS, you're responsible for it. And it's part of your overarching wealth.
Yeah, absolutely. So just in case people don't know, it's a self-administered scheme, a self-administered pension scheme that you can do all sorts of fancy footwork. It makes things much more tax efficient if you have a business or several businesses, as we do, that you're able to put profits into your SaaS, or you're able to transfer money into your SaaS, which is a very tax efficient way of of investing and buying commercial properties and doing lots of other things that Karen mentioned. And Karen knows a lot more about it than I do. We're just investigating it with a bit to set up our own SaaS.
But we're giving out financial advice, just to be clear. We're just telling you what we think about it and why we think it's great. But you need to make sure, if you're looking at it, that it is actually right for you.
Yes, definitely. I certainly couldn't be giving any advice on it whatsoever. But one of the things you said earlier, Karen, is that you run your property business for you. It gives you the freedom that you want in your life. You no longer have to work. You can choose what you do, and you enjoy the work, if you call it that you do within your business. So we talked about the SaaS and what's that's given you, but perhaps you could give us an idea of something that you've been able to do with your SaaS, if appropriate.
I'm absolutely happy to do that. So I've managed to secure property at a good price by leveraging SaaS funding to buy it as if it was in cash. And, it's a great tool from that perspective. I have worked with other SaaS other SaaS trustees, and we've taken slices of our SaaS and created a greater whole. And we've bought more because we worked as a whole, if you like, so synergy. I've got some stocks and shares. Now, I'm not a trader.
Yeah.
It's new to me. I understand the fundamentals, obviously, but I've got a small amount of money with Best Invest, which is SaaS compliant, and I'm investing in a number of funds through my SaaS.
Yeah.
So, and I've done loans. I've borrowed other people's SaaS money as well. So I've done a number of things. Now you can use a SaaS to help grow your business. So it is a fabulous tool from that perspective.
Yeah. And Karen, what do you wish you had known before you started out on this property journey all those years ago?
Well, so I escaped corporate land in May 2015, as I say, when I started. What I wish I'd known is stick to your guns, stay on home ground. Now, I know some people invest miles away from where they live, okay? And I have got some properties miles away, about 4.5 hours away, in fact, from where I live. And whilst they're fine, I've got a fabulous property manager looking after them. I prefer having stuff closer so that I can touch and feel it and effectively get to it pretty quickly. Even if I'm not managing it day to day on the tenant side, I like to know that it's pretty close so I can just check it's okay, drive past it. Just gives you a better feeling personally of comfort. So, right now I'm only buying locally, but I have historically got stuff that's further away.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's we're emotional beings, and I think for some people they like to have those visuals, they like to be in touch with it, and for other people they feel okay with. And I suppose it depends on the scale. If you're going to have hundreds or thousands or of units, then I suppose you're more okay with it being farther away. But with our units, I like them being near to hand as well. And we've got an in-house team who are managing our properties, the properties that we manage for other people and the properties that we own ourselves. And I think that's what gives me comfort anyway. So I'm with you on that.
And the thing is this as well, okay? And I know everyone's different. Everyone has a different view. But let's say you had 200 properties. That's 200 boilers. And if they're 20 grand houses, your profits could be eroded like that because each one's only making you a couple of £100.
Yes.
Whereas if you had more expensive houses somewhere else, you could probably get the same cash flow.
Yeah.
And I know why people do it, because I know the return's fabulous, and quite often up north, all of the money comes out, or most of it. Whereas down south, it's much more difficult. And these days, very unlikely. So I understand it, and I understand why people might start there and then move on. But, bear in mind the downside. Make sure if you're buying, you've either factored in the cost of the boiler, etc., the electrics, or, what you're buying is actually pretty good and it's fairly new.
Yes, such a great point, Karen. And one of the answers to that, and I know that you've gone down this road as well yourself, is multi-unit blocks. because your per unit cost is much reduced compared with buying the equivalent house, and the rental income is very similar.
Yeah, exactly. I will say though, what I have done probably in nearly all of my properties, I've replaced the boiler. And most of them, I have at least had them partially rewired, so that for longevity, they're kind of fairly sustainable and they're not going to cause any pain, for some time. So I like to do something once and then that's it, parked.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge with having stuff further away. You're dependent on people doing what they say they can do.
Yes.
And you can only see the photographs they send you to show you what they've done. And if you have the right certificates, you believe it's done to a good quality standard, but that isn't always the case.
Often isn't the case, I think, unless you're there or you have a trusted person there overseeing. You need overseers of the overseers almost. But yes, yeah, and good people can go bad. That's the other thing.
They can get busy. They can start off great and they can get super busy and suddenly their eye is off the ball.
Yes, yeah. So with this being Property Game Changers, we do talk to you about how has property changed the game for you, and wider and beyond that since you started.
What it means is now I choose what my week looks like. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have structure. I've got focus time in my diary. There are things I repeat each week, meetings we have that are recurring, but it's kind of things I like. And if it's something I don't like, I don't tend to be doing it for very long if I don't enjoy it. So it's giving me that ability to choose what I do. And I've got some great stuff going on and I'm collaborating with some amazing people, which is fabulous. And having the freedom to do that and to choose the type of deals we want to work on is really great.
Yeah, no, I totally agree and can see that. And is there anything that I haven't asked you today, Karen, that you wanted to share before we sign off?
No, I'd just say, remember, no matter what you hear out there, property is the long game. If people say to you, you're going to be a millionaire overnight, yeah, there's a few that are. But generally speaking, there's a massive risk there. And a tiny tip the other way, a tiny backwind, and you're going to lose the lot. So take time, be cautious and move along. What I'd also say is I did jump out of corporate land, but my other half is in a pretty good job. He's cybersecurity. So I had that backing. Don't listen to these people that tell you to sack the boss if you haven't got something behind you. You need to make sure you're mortgageable. So you need to be in a solid position. And even if that means you need to stay in your job where you're starting to build your business initially, you need to make sure you can get that funding.
Yes, yeah. Very good advice, Karen. Well, thank you so much for joining us, sharing your story with us and inspiring us along our journey. Thank you for watching and for listening too. And I will see you all again very soon. Bye for now. Bye, Karen.
Thank you.